Hi, it's Shauna from the Jeffco DeAngelis Foundation, and we're here with John McDonald, the gold standard of school safety. And since we've had a lot of questions from parents, specifically moms, who want to know what we should be doing, they're scared about school safety. Should we even had one mom who said, told her kids not to follow the lockdown protocols and just run as fast as they can. Since you're the gold standard, John, can you please tell us, as parents, what should we be teaching our kids, and what's my role as a parent?
Well, I think your role as a parent is to first be a good advocate for your child. And part of that means being unafraid to ask the school questions about what their plan is, what their strategy is, what's the training that they do for the kids. Lockdown is a great strategy, and we know it's effective. People in the aftermath of the most recent tragedy in Texas obviously are questioning lockdown. Lockdown is not failing our kids. Too often it's adults that are failing our kids when we don't train them on all manners of strategy. Lockdown can be critically important, and we know it saves lives. But if you can't lock down, what's your option? And teaching self-evacuation is an acceptable strategy. However, what are you running to? What are you running into? Most people can't tell where a threat is coming from, where the shots are coming from. You can't outrun the gunfire. So being really cautious about what that looks like and having open, honest conversations is critically important. Where is your safe zone? If you, in fact, decide to self-evacuate, and under what conditions would you do that? For example, maybe it's passing period. Maybe it's recess. Different times of the day make more sense than when you're in a classroom environment learning and you're told about a threat. Then lockdown strategy may be the most effective, but how often do your teachers practice that on their own? And where would their safe place be for students and themselves in the event that there's a threat inside the building that you can't run from? So all of these are really important questions, and it's incumbent upon parents to make sure that their students' school has an emergency plan, has practiced and prepared teachers and students, and the parents know their rights and roles in a crisis. And that means understanding that you may not be told where to pick your child up or where reunification site is going to be until law enforcement's responded to the threat, and decisions are made moment in time, and conditions on the ground will often dictate where reunification is going to occur. And then it's really a requirement for the school district to take on that role of crisis communications and get that information out to the parents. Parents have to remember that during a crisis, school staff and the principal, they're not going to be texting you. They won't be messaging you. They are working the crisis, or they're trying to get away from it as well with as many kids as they can. And they're keeping their school safe. So while they're doing that work, the actual crisis communication is going to come from the district in most cases. And making sure, and this is where I see a lot of failures from our parents, making sure your contact information is up to date and you sign up for those emergency notifications, because it is really difficult for a school district in the midst of crisis when they can't get a hold of parents and nobody's answering the phone. So when you see your students' school calling, pick the phone up and make sure that you understand what's happening moment in time. But I think part of the issue we're seeing around the country is that big, bad, scary thing nobody wants to talk about. We have to talk about it. And we've been saying for years that we're not afraid to talk to our kids about what do you do when you're on fire. We cannot be afraid to talk to them about what do you do when you're under fire, because that's the threat of our time. And for our kids, there are really important reasons that you'd want to lock down in a classroom. There are also important reasons why you want to get out of that building. And just one situation that comes to mind is a student that's in a restroom when a lockdown happens. Maybe you can't get back to the classroom. Maybe everything's locked by the time you can get yourself out of the restroom. Well, then what? Then it's time to self-evacuate, get yourself out of that building. Don't stand around wondering what you should do. And those are tough conversations the younger the kids are. The younger the kids are, the more supervision that they need. And in the midst of crisis, they're looking for adult leadership, and they're looking for the adults to take care of them. And that's a fundamental responsibility of the school to keep those kids safe and as well as educated. And I would say this, that, if you're a parent and you see doors propped in the school, you need to say something to your principal. You need to say something to the teacher. Propping doors is not okay. We've seen too many incidents all over the country, time and time again, where a threat has been able to enter the building because of a prop door. So we're actually starting a campaign here called Stop the Prop. And I think, Stop the Prop is something everybody can get behind. We're creating video vignettes that help us send the message to educators about why we don't prop doors. The hard part, in all honesty, for schools that were built 50, 60 years ago, so many don't have air conditioning. And we're seeing this change in heat index that's occurred, and it's hot. It's an uncomfortable place to teach in a lot of these schools with limited air conditioning. So there's a natural inclination to open the door and get fresh air in. We just can't do it. And we're at a time in our history, in a place where too many threats are occurring to schools, and we have to have a secure school environment. And as parents, I think asking those questions, whether you ask them at the start of the school year and a back to school night, when you have a chance to engage, it's your right and your responsibility to be that advocate. But it's also important that you understand, if you're sending your kids to school, you're sending them to our care, that trying to tell them to do a different strategy than the school is teaching compromises their safety, and it could compromise the safety of everybody else in the school environment. And that's not okay. So we love having your kids in our schools. We want them to be there. But part of that responsibility then is let us do our work to actually keep them safe. And it's our responsibility then to make sure that we do that each and every day.
Great. Thank you very much.
You want to see